All right, I'm just going to go ahead and give a little explanation.
Go ahead.
We're going to try to do this as natural as possible, as organically as possible. But unfortunately, we just recorded probably about like halfway through this episode, I would say.
We were 20 minutes in.
20 minutes in out of a 30-minute, but, you know, we'll call it halfway. And I looked over to grab a drink, and I realized that my microphone was not plugged in. And so, you know, we obviously want to give you guys the best quality possible. And so we're going to go ahead and re-record that 20 minutes. Obviously, spontaneously, it's not going to be the exact same thing. But I just want to throw that in there. So, hey, welcome back to the Catchin Up Podcast.
What's up? You heard it here, ladies and gentlemen. We're human and we make mistakes, so we're going to do our best.
Yep.
But in case you're new here, my name's Gabriel.
I'm Tyler.
And this isn't a normal episode like you'd, I guess, normally think, right? This is a vault episode. Dun, dun. And Tyler, explain what a vault episode is, because you did such a great job 20 minutes ago.
So the vault episodes, actually, I forgot. No, I'm kidding. So the vault episodes are basically episodes where we pre-record before the season starts, so that we have a couple of episodes in the can in case something comes up and we're not able to record. We still want to be able to get out an episode and not miss a week of posting during the season. And so we typically record 2 of them. This is going to be the first of 2. So we hope you guys enjoy this episode. You know, again, there's some good stuff in these ones. It's just, you know, now we gotta re-record it, and you'll see it's funny because we're about to do a food review, and it will it's gonna be redone. It'll be all right, but this is like a YouTube exclusive. You guys,
Tyler's literally an actor, and I'm pretty decent. It'll be fine.
Yeah, the TikTok people, they're not gonna know. They're just seeing the short form. But
yeah,
anybody who's tuning in on audio or on YouTube or wherever, you know the real story behind this.
Yeah, comment hush hush if you know what we're talking about.
But
all right, well, let's play
off,
that intro.
Look at us. That's what we're talking about right there. Telekinesis.
Exactly. Here you go.
Ladies and gentlemen, the show's about to start. Introducing Catchin Up
I customized mine because I'm bougie.
It's not a 9, but it's not an 8.5 either. Like,
Why are you this picky?
you have to be the one to open the door. You have to be the one to open your heart.
It's not about you. It's about touching other people's lives.
Catching Up Podcast. If you're not caught up, you're catching up.
I don't necessarily know what that means. So, Gabe, since you are the one who picked this choice, why don't you go ahead and explain what we're going to be trying tonight?
All right, how did I start this off? I said, for those of you that watched last season, I was talking about these specific chips right here. They are from Sprouts. They were not sponsored unless you guys want to sponsor us, but this is not sponsored. I was just talking about how I love Takis growing up, but, you know, as you get older, you process things a little differently. So sometimes Takis is a little too hot, and I don't want to deal with it afterwards. So these were the perfect replacement, if not, I think kind of better. These are the Sprouts brand of the chili and lime flavored rolled corn tortilla chips. And this is what they look like. We're going to pretend we're going to open it. Now you got me paranoid. Let me check.
Now I'm very paranoid.
We're good on all ends. So, essentially, they are, Takis, but not as deadly.
Takis are pretty.
They look like.
They're pretty deadly.
See, it literally looks identical to a Taki, except it's not completely red. And although it looks like it doesn't even have that much seasoning on it, right?
It even has the same color bag as the Takis.
It do. Purple. Purple
okay,
gang.
let's see.
All right, cheers. For the first time, we're trying these.
Cheers.
Mmm.
You know, I feel like I've had these before.
No, I don't think so.
Bro. Honestly, bro, these things are so good.
They're better the second time.
Like, it has the perfect balance of chili and lime. And I get it. You're like, wait a minute. That's what they are. They're chili and lime chips, yes. But a lot of other ones that you'll find that are comparable to this, Takis, the Trader Joe's ones, whatever, like, they go overboard on one side or the other. And these ones, I feel, are, like, perfect. And they're really limey, which I really like because I love lime.
There's just enough chili for there to be a little bit of a kick, but it's not enough for you to be like, oh my God, it's so hot. And like I said, go ahead.
I have a question for you. Why is this one not rolled up, huh?
Bro, you just won $1 million. You found the Sprouts hidden tortilla chip. Sprouts, you owe him $1 million. He found it. And it's I think I said this the first time we did it, but especially for how they look, like they don't look seasoned at all. It almost looks like there's no flavor, but when you eat it, it's so much more flavor. Than you think. Like, it's genuinely like an explosion. And it's so good. The crunch. Oh, here, look. Listen to this.
Bro, I could, like...
It's so good. What do you rate them?
If I took these to a movie, bro, I'm not coming out with any left in the bag.
Nope.
Like, for real. I'm rating, these are off the bat, a 10 out of 10. Like, easiest decision I've ever made.
Likewise, 10 out of 10. Sprouts, you nailed it. Mm-hmm. Like we said, not sponsored, but if you want to sponsor us, let's do it.
Which is so funny because, like, Sprouts is probably the last place that I expect to make a good chili and lime chip for whatever reason.
For real.
You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't
I just don't think of it.
Oh, and funny story, because I included this the first time around, but funny story. So my roommate works at Sprouts, and he was saying that, because I asked him to pick some up for me, because we were going to try them on the podcast tonight. And he's like, dude, literally, we just restocked these on Saturday, and there's a whole shelf dedicated to just them. So there's probably like, 200 bags.
Well, we can put the picture up
today. Yeah, he sent me a picture. They're gone today. It's Tuesday night recording this. So in 3 days, people ran these out of the store. Luckily, the one I went to, which is close to my work, had some. But I'm like, dang, I didn't know a chip could be that popular.
And now that you had it, it makes sense, doesn't it?
Do you imagine this is like trending on TikTok right now, and like we don't even know and we're reviewing it?
But I called dibs. I was talking about this last season.
That is true. We will. If people come for us and like, oh, you're late on the train, we're gonna have to bring some facts to the room.
Yeah. So what did we learn from this experience? I'm always right.
Gabe's always right, and we're both pretty decent actors. Not really. I mean, they are great. Like, I genuinely, like, I had no problem trying those for a second time. They're amazing.
Dude, it really was better the second time.
Really good. It was. Kind of got, like, a little bit, hungry for them again.
Yeah, because, even though I knew what to expect, it still blew my mind.
Okay, so let's dive right into the next topic. We had a little fun to start off the episode, but now we got to go deep. Gotta go deep, man. We gotta go deep on the episodes. So I had a thought the other day because I was watching a video where two of these YouTubers I used to watch they were on a podcast, and I just scrolled across it on my TikTok For You page, and they were talking about like their beliefs, and they were like, yeah, I consider myself agnostic. Like, I don't really believe in anything. I don't know. Like, I'm open to hearing, but like I just don't know, and like I'm okay with that. Like I'm cool with that. And so like it sparked a thought in me, and I was like, oh well, that could be an interesting topic because I would have considered myself at one point an agnostic, and Gabe has been a Christian his whole life. So I was like, it'd be cool to get the perspectives on it from like him viewing it from the outside and me viewing it from I've actually considered myself that at one point. And so I think that, for me, because I grew up going to a Catholic school, and that wasn't, like by choice because I wanted to go to a Catholic school. It's like my parents raised me I mean, my parents put me in private school, and it was a Catholic school. And so I went to church there and everything, but it wasn't like ever, quote unquote, like, my decision. I always find it, when you join a religion, or even if you grow up in a religion, right? I feel like it should always still be your choice to continue in that faith. Anyways, so whenever I went to high school, I went to a public school, and from there on, like, kind of lacked faith of any sort. Like, I didn't go to church anymore. I didn't know who God was. I didn't know who Jesus was. And I didn't really care, to be honest with you. Like, at that point in my life, I was just living for myself. And I didn't also think it was something that I needed. And I thought that, hey, man, I'm just going to do what I do. I'm going to, I don't need to believe anything. I'm okay, right? And I think, like, that's the interesting thing about it, like with Gnosticism, because I feel like a lot of the time, for me at least, and I think for other people, and I could be wrong, but from my point of view, being an agnostic before, is that a lot of the times it's just that you're too lazy to go and search for the truth. Or you just don't want to, or you just don't feel like it's necessary. You don't need it. I'm okay on my own. I don't need something. I don't need a God who I can look up to and pray to and talk to. Like, I don't need that. My life is good. And I just didn't care enough, like I said. And I think that's the viewpoint of a lot of it is like, I just don't care. Like, I'm okay. If something comes across, if something miraculous happens, yeah, I'll believe. But until then, I'm okay. And I think, again, I don't think it's a bad thing to be in an agnostic viewpoint, because you're figuring out, you're discovering, you want to, you think there's a higher power out there, you just don't know what it is. What I do think is bad is when you sit in that position and you don't seek and you don't research and you don't ask around, you don't ask your friends, what's your belief? Well, why do you believe that? Oh, have you had any experiences? What experiences? Have you looked into other faiths? When you're in this point of Gnosticism and you're not like having the care to go out there and search and look, I think like that's when it becomes a quote unquote bad place to be, because you become very complacent, you become very comfortable in that setting. And I think a lot of people use it as an excuse to be like, yeah, I believe in a higher power, and I just don't know what it is, and it's kind of like, well, I do believe in something, so people won't look at me as an atheist, you know what I mean? Like, because sometimes you look at them a certain way, but people also look at us a certain way because we're Christians. So, like, we all get judgments for being the beliefs that we have, right? And I'm not, like, trying to pass any judgmentation on any of that. But I think if you're just saying it to have a viewpoint, it's because you don't want to actually sit down and seek the answers for yourself. And that's where I was at for so long. I didn't want to. I wanted to continue to live my life the way I wanted to live it. I wanted to continue to, chase these worldly things. And like, that's what I did. And it never worked out for me. You know what I mean? I was I was a genuinely happy person. You know what I mean? I wasn't like depressed or anything like that. But a lot of the times I felt like I was seeking my life's purpose or whatever it was. I was putting so much energy and thought into, just relationships and intimacy and clubbing and going out and just, drinking and all these different things. And it was because I was missing something inside of me. I was missing God. For so long, I was missing God. And it's just, and not only just missing God, because again, you can be agnostic and believe there's a God, but like who that God is. Because I feel like a lot of the time when you're in that agnostic state, again, you say that you are because you want to say that you believe in a God, but you don't know what it is. But again, if you're in that space, like, who are you praying to? Who are you thanking for waking up that morning? If you are somebody who prays and things like that, who are you talking to when you do pray? Because if you don't know, then like it's like, who are you talking to? Who are you praying to? Like me, like I know who that is now. I know who God is. I know who Jesus is. And that's because I took the time to do the research, to dive deep, to really like take the time to look into it. And it was even something that I have a conversation with Gabe about when I was starting to look into faith. I was like, I don't know Like I have something missing in me. Like I just feel empty inside. I feel like that's a lot of the times what it is with people who are seeking religion, because we all have a desire to search for God. It's just, are you shoving it down or are you going to lean into it? And if you shove it down, you're going to be searching for it in other places in the world, other areas of your life. And that's not the best way to go about it. It's how a lot of people spiral downward, you know? And so my thing is, like, a lot of the time, because, and again, this is just from my experience and how I viewed it, and from also points of views that I've heard from people who are agnostic, is that, you know, a lot of the time you're just kind of taking this point of view because you want to say you believe in a higher power, the universe, God, whatever that may be, but you don't want to do the work to actually read the Bible or read the Quran, you know, whichever. I'm not even saying that you have to, you know, you should take a look at them all and examine them for yourself. And again, if you and if you go through all of those and you nothing speaks to you, or you don't believe this is true, or the evidence is, you know, not enough for you, then at least you did your research, and then you're basically an atheist, right? Because you looked at all these religions, you looked at all the gods, and you don't believe them. So, you know, I feel like that would lead you to be like, oh, I don't believe there's anything higher there. But when you're living in the space of like, I don't know, and you're like, I'm cool with I don't know, I feel like that's just such a, it's not doing a service to yourself. And I wasn't doing a service to myself to sit down and read the Bible, to sit down and read, you know, again, whatever it is, the Quran, or if you want to look into Buddhism or whatever. But like for me, it was finding the truth and going to church and having those experiences and letting those experiences affect me, and then pursuing it. And again, I think that it's just something that if you continue to live in that, it just feels very aimless and empty. Again, unless you're filling it with these worldly things, which can feel very good, right? Which can feel very good, and they can definitely uplift you and make you happy and all these different things. But at the end of the day, there's only one thing that can give you the fulfillment, the joy, the purpose, the outlook on life that is true, and that's Jesus Christ, you know, that's God. And so I just encourage people who are, again, in this position of Gnosticism to do the research, right? Like if you haven't done the research and you're claiming to be this, I just encourage you to look into it, to dig deeper, to read the Bible, to go to a church service, to ask your friends, be curious, and figure it out for yourself. And again, if you go through all these things and you still don't believe, then I think it's kind of time to look at like, oh, well, maybe I don't believe there's something higher out there, right? But it's just like figuring that out, because I feel like once you figure that out, you can live more freely in whatever that is. But when you're kind of in this place of bouncing back and forth, I don't know, it's a very weird place to be in. And again, for me, once I found the truth of Jesus Christ, like it just changed my life radically in the way that I viewed life, in the way that I viewed things, in the way that I viewed relationships, in the way that I reviewed items and possessions and jobs and all of these different things, and like my goals in life. Like so many of these things changed because I realized what truly mattered. I realized what the real reward is, and that's getting to live eternally with Jesus Christ. And so all these other things just became like, yeah, I still have goals, and I still live life, and there's things I want to accomplish, and there's things I want, and all these different things. And, you know, but when you have that backbone, and when you have that strength in knowing who God is, it will change your life dramatically. And so that's something that I just really think is important to seek, you know, and to search for. And again, this isn't me trying to say that, again, it's a bad thing. I'm just saying if you're in a place and you're not doing the active research, you're not actively looking, you're not researching, you're not doing the work that you need to be doing to seek this, then like, are you really even agnostic? Because if you are, you should be looking, you should be searching, you should be seeking. And so I'd love to hear your viewpoint on it, Gabe, considering, you know, you've been on the outside of it.
Just for sake of like I guess, relevancy and people not hating because it's like,
Sure.
and, you know, everyone's, you know, there's different, just like how there's different types of Christians, there's different types of atheists and different types of agnostic, and everyone has their reason as to why they believe everything, right? So I'm not saying agnostic as a whole. I'm just talking about people that were specifically in your situation, grew up, right? So like that's kind of like where the perspective I'm coming from is like specifically kind of like you, or you technically. One of my teachers in growing up in high school would always say, religion chooses you and then you choose religion. So what happened with you, right? Like you're born, like you said, right? You didn't choose to go to a private Catholic school. Your parents put you there, right? I didn't choose to go to church when I was a kid. My parents brought me to church because they already went to church, right? So like you like from the beginning, and then if your family's an atheist and they don't do anything and they don't believe in anything, you're gonna be raised believing that because that's just, it picked you. Then it comes to an age that you got to pick what you believe. And I feel like a lot of people in your type of situation will, you know, whether it's going to a Catholic school or a Christian school or whatever, or, you know, going to church only on Sundays and things like that, I think you become like it becomes like a checklist. And I think even like people like me growing up in the church, it gets easy to view Christianity as a checklist as opposed to a relationship. And that being said, so like for people like you, right? You weren't like, my mom made me go to church when I was younger. Right. You know what I mean? Like if I didn't, I couldn't just be like, oh, I don't want to go this week. Like, no, we're going. That's not an option. Like you're going to go. So it was always like drilled into me that this is important. This is, you know, this is something we got to do. This is what we believe. This is how we act. This is blah, 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 blah. Growing up, even the people that only go, like, let's say, like, just go on Sundays and then that's it. And, like, they forget about God. Like, it's like the check-in, did that, boom, boom, boom. And then absolutely. I'm out of the week, right? And I think that's where the agnosticism comes from because in your situation, right, and people like that situation, where because it wasn't instilled as important, that's why you don't do the research. It might not even be because you don't care. It's just not your priority. Yeah. You know what I mean? At that time, like, what did you learn at the time? Okay, sure, yeah. Maybe you weren't aware that what you were feeling was a void. Maybe you just felt you processed it as a different way. And what did you learn? Oh, we go out and do this, and we do X, Y, and Z, and like this stuff is what we enjoy, and this stuff is what we like of the world, right? And then you get caught in that, and then, like you said, is it fun? Yeah, obviously. The devil's not gonna be like, you want to go enjoy some hard labor and work? You know what I mean? Like, no, it's carefree. It's enjoying, forgetting, you know, living in the moment, the YOLO lifestyle, right? And then I think it just becomes a dimmer thing in your. It just goes to the back of your head, bro. Like it just does. Like you said, like sure, yeah. You would say, oh, I believed in the universe and I believe in this, and that's a whole nother thing to dive into, but I think a lot of the times it's just lack of care and lack of learning how important it is to actually believe in something and know what you believe in, no matter what it is. Because I remember having conversations with you where I'm just like, dude, like we would have conversations and I'm like, you're right there. You just don't want to take that one extra jump. And it's just because you didn't care. Why would you? No one else did other than me. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's one of those things that it's like, as a society nowadays, I think it's starting to change now. I feel like the Christian movement is like, you know, on the rise right now. Again, I feel like it was on the low for a little bit. At least like people speaking out publicly.
Sure.
But yeah, agnosticism, agnostics, whatever the verb
Gnosticism? Yeah, I don't know. I think the A might be slightly silent, but
yeah, slightly silent.
They're gonna be like in the comments, maybe you guys can't even pronounce it.
Yeah, for real. But I don't know. I always think it's always weird to me when you say you believe in God or the universe, but like you don't comply with anything, because at the end of the day, like Satan knows that God's real.
Mm-hmm.
Like it doesn't like that's not even faith. That's just not being dumb. You know what I mean? Like that's acknowledging that. That's just like, you know, it baffles me in a way, but I also can relate because I feel like as the Christian, like I've never struggled with, oh, is it God? I mean, you do struggle with growing up. I feel like everyone always has that point where they're like, what if we're wrong? Like, what
Sure.
if I picked the wrong religion? What if God isn't real? What if Buddha is real? Or whatever you want to consider otherwise, right? What if it is just the universe? What if it is crystals? What if it is energy? Sure, right? So it's like, I feel like that's human nature, and I think that's honestly kind of good. Like, I don't think you should blindly follow anything, but then that's where it goes, right? Like, you got to put in that work and actually dive in. And I think with, from my perspective of growing up, I think it's easy for people that grew up in the church to know exactly what to do to make it look very good on the outside and lack a lot in the inside. And I'm speaking from personal experience too. I'm not like pointing anyone out. I'm talking about like my own experience. Like I definitely know that there was a time that I almost was living like an agnostic mentally and like spiritually, but on the outside I'm checking every box. Yeah, that I was raised to, you know, I'm going every week. I'm volunteering. I'm leading people. I'm going to these retreats. I'm, you know, helping kids. I'm helping others. I'm participating, like everything, you know. I'm going to prayer groups. I'm going to worship nights. But that relationship wasn't there because I wouldn't put in the work, just like how an agnostic doesn't put in the work on figuring out exactly what they believe in. And I think that's just like a slippery slope of complacency, and you just get stuck there. And like you said, you don't know what that void is until you actually like taste it. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like they always say that when you figure out the good news of Jesus, it's like a sin for you not to spread it, because like that just shows that you don't care and that you're being selfish, because you find exactly what is love and what is life and what is just holiness and purity in and of itself. Like you found something so perfect and amazing that how can you be so selfish to not share it? And I feel like that's almost like when you're agnostic, like you're being so selfish that you don't even care to figure out something that could potentially change your life.
Because you're so consumed with your own life.
Exactly. And I think it's just like a very like selfish. Not selfish in a bad way. It's just selfish in the sense of you just don't care. Like and like no one's blaming you. Like why would you? Depending on if like specifically Tyler's situation, like how I viewed it, for example, like if your family doesn't go to church, they don't believe in it, or like it's not even a conversation. It's not even a topic. Why would you care?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're not going to care about gas prices if it doesn't affect you.
Yeah,
you're driving a Tesla, you're not talking about gas prices. You don't care about gas prices. Mm. Same thing. If you're not talking about religion and faith and purpose and things like that, like why would you care? Why would you think about that stuff if it doesn't come up? Yeah. And people do it to themselves, I feel like.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, man, there were so many different talking points that you touched upon in that I was like, okay, like that. I was like, man, I can, but obviously I don't want to go too crazy. What time are we at?
We're at 30 minutes.
Okay, cool. So I'll just wrap it up real quick with this then. Because you said something about how, again, when you do hear the good news and when you fully believe the good news of Jesus Christ and eternal salvation and just the, the life that you lead with Jesus first, you're like, oh, it's basically a sin not to go and spread it because you know. And not even taking that perspective, I'm just looking at it as when people are like, oh, well, why do Christians always have to like tell me about Jesus? Or why do you guys always have to be out here spreading it? Like, I'm this and you don't see me trying to push my beliefs on somebody, or I'm this and you don't see me out here with a sign, or I'm this and you don't see me stopping somebody. Again, whether that's atheist, this or that, Muslim, agnostic, whatever it is. I feel like all types of people say that. And I'm like, because when you understand and we fully believe that if you don't believe in Jesus Christ, that you are not going to have a life in heaven after death, like how selfish of me would that be to not tell you that? And that's something that I even struggle with a lot too, because I'm not going to lie, like it is a little bit hard for me to spread it sometimes in my real life with friends and family and other people, because you get viewed a certain way. Interestingly enough, it is pretty, and again, I think this comes with all religions and viewpoints, but like people look at you a certain way if you're trying to preach to them about Jesus or God or whatever it is. And again, it's not for me to care, but it is a hard thing to get over. Like I need to get over that fear of that. But again, like how selfish of me would it be? Like, again, we always use the example of when, there's a point in the Bible where when Jesus comes back, the followers are being raised, and they're being raised to heaven, and the non-believers are stuck there. Like if you take this viewpoint for a second, if you're not a believer in Jesus Christ, if you did believe in him and you're ascending and your best friend is standing there, like, why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you ever try to talk to me about this? Because they're now realizing that it's real. How bad would you feel in that moment? How terrible would you feel that you did not try to speak to your best friend and at least, again, not push it, not unfriend him if he's not. Just try to, hey man, like, I want to tell you why I believe in Jesus Christ, and I want to tell you the good news, and you do with that what you want. Like all our job as Christians is to plant the seed. God allows it to grow. Not me, not a pastor, not a Christian influencer. We just plant the seeds. He makes it grow. Gabe planted little seeds throughout my life. God allowed them to grow. Yes, he was an influence in my life in that, but again, he planting the seed, and then God allows it to grow. So it's just that when people always have well, why do you have to push this or push that? I'm not trying to push it on you. I'm just trying to tell you before it's too late. Because we live every day as if Jesus is coming back tomorrow. He's going to come back like a thief in the night. And it tells us that nobody will know the date or the time. So we have a sense of urgency with this. You know what I mean? So again, there's definitely ways to do that some people do incorrectly and not in a kind manner. But again, there is that viewpoint of like, how bad would I feel? How selfish and awful of a friend would I be to really believe this is true and not tell you? Good.
Well, three things. One, I don't know how you be saying things and then you got me singing Pop Smoke in my head while we're talking about Jesus. Two, one thing that people I think fail, because I think people have such a bitter taste of Christianity and religion. Just to wrap this up really quick, when people are like, "Oh, why are they always forcing it and all this stuff?" I'm like, "Bro, it's called passion. Like that's anything. That's exactly that's like saying an influencer is shoving fitness down my throat. No, they're just doing something that they're passionate about and want to show the world and improve other people. People that are investing in stocks and posting videos about that, they're not shoving it down your throat. They're passionate about it and they're posting videos about it. You know what I mean? It's the same thing. You're just looking at it from almost like a defensive standpoint. And then so maybe it's like, why are you looking at it that way? Because you don't look at any other thing that way. And then two, just to wrap it up, because you mentioned it earlier, like, oh, what are you even praying to? Like, to acknowledge that there's a higher power, whether it's God, whether it's the universe or crystals and energy or whatever, right? It's acknowledging that there's a good higher power. But that also means you have to acknowledge that there's a bad higher power, for lack of a better way of saying it. Not saying that the devil's a higher power, but spiritual warfare is a thing, whether you want to accept it or not, whether you want to, whatever you want to label it.
Yeah.
So it's like, you can't, it's in the Bible, the only way through God is through me, a.k.a. Jesus. So if you're not praying through Jesus to God, what are you really praying to? And I think that's where like people don't realize like that's where like witchcraft come in and like other religions and things like that, because you're starting to believe in something that's not God and you're making it God, and you don't know what forces it holds and what its intentions are with what you do.
And that's the thing too, is like, again, really quick to just tie it in, like those can also be worldly things. That can be money. So many people make money their God and they don't even realize it. And that goes for people who are believers. You know, again, we talked about this in the first episode of the podcast this season, that like you say God's number one, yet all you do is chase money. You say God's number one, but all you do is work out in the gym. You say God's number one, but all you're trying to do is be famous. Like, there's so many levels to it when you really once you like really dig deeper into it. There is so many ways that like, you know, you put these other things above God, and so. You know, again, that's a whole nother conversation just tied into that. But you know, if there's anything you can take away from this message, from this episode, for me personally, it would just to seek, just really like look inside yourself and, you know, see if you're really willing to do the research, if you're really willing to do the work, if you're really willing to allow yourself and open your heart and open your mind to that, because such a long time was me just being so hardened, and it speaks so much about that in the Bible. Is your heart is hard, your ears, you don't have ears to hear, you don't have eyes to see, because you don't want to. Again, there's so much out there nowadays. Like, imagine going back 100 years. You don't have the internet. You don't have videos. You don't have people on the internet. Like, there's so many resources nowadays where you can do your research and find out and ask questions. And everybody's asked every question. You can go and look it up. And, like, there's so many resources and there's so many ways for you to do your own due diligence on religion and higher powers and belief. And so there's no reason for you not to. So I just encourage you to, and of course, if you ever have questions or you ever want us to answer things, you can always let us know, and we will be more than happy to answer them and give you our perspective.
Yeah. So let us know what your perspective is, because I'm actually very curious. Like, just
we'd love to know what
whether you're atheist, what's it called? Atheist, agnostic, Christian, Muslim, whatever you believe in. Let us know why what you think, like what you think of what we said and things like that, because we wanna have conversations.
Just want to have an open discussion, man.
That's literally what a podcast is. We just like to hear ourselves talk. So.
All right, well, we will see you guys in the next episode, whichever one that is, because I don't know when this is coming out in the season timeline. So, we hope you enjoyed.
Vault 1 over.
Catching Up Podcast. If you're not caught up, you're catching up.
I don't necessarily know what that means.